Hey, Sammy with revenge here. Imagine this, one single click and my entire life savings, poof, gone. A con artist wiped me out. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, just drowning in shame and debt. This is my raw, unfiltered story of hitting rock bottom and fighting my way back. It's a wild ride, so stick with me. Hit that subscribe button and let's jump in. It didn't start with some sketchy email. It started with a connection. Someone slid into my DMs, charismatic, funny, real. Or so I thought. They listened, asked about my dreams, shared these wild stories about their life. Looking back, the red flags are so obvious. No video calls, always an excuse. Urgent crises that needed my help. But back then, I trusted them. They dangled this unmissable investment. Not pushy, just inviting. Like, I'm doing this for my future, join if you want. The website looked legit. Fancy logos, graphs, testimonials. I started small, and the returns? Instant. I even withdrew some cash to test it. It worked. That's how they hook you. They make you believe it's real. Then came the big ask. A life-changing investment. They spun this emotional story, a crisis, a deadline, our future on the line. My gut screamed no, but my heart was all in. I emptied my savings, took out a loan, everything. I hit transfer and felt unstoppable for a few hours. Then the website vanished. Messages stopped. Their number disconnected. My bank account zero. I was staring at a 404 error, and this sickening truth hit me. I'd been scammed. The days after, pure panic. I couldn't tell anyone. The shame was crushing. Scammers count on that, you know? They isolate you. Every debt collector's call felt like a knife. I'd wake up, and for 1 second, life was normal. Then it had hit me, I'd lost everything. My lowest point, sitting in my car, staring at an eviction notice. I just broke down, sobbing, feeling worthless. I'd lost my money, my security, my trust in people, even in myself. That's the worst part, when you can't trust your own judgment. But rock bottom, it's weirdly freeing. When you've got nothing left to lose, you've got everything to gain. Sitting there, I made a choice. The scammer took my money, but they weren't taking my future. I picked up the phone and reported the crime. It wasn't about the money, it was about fighting back. One small step. That's where my comeback began. This part's hard to share. If you've ever been scammed or hit rock bottom, you know how isolating it feels. Hey, Sammy with revenge here. Imagine this, one single click and my entire life savings, poof, gone. A con artist wiped me out. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, just drowning in shame and debt. This is my raw, unfiltered story of hitting rock bottom and fighting my way back. It's a wild ride, and I'm taking you through every twist and turn. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, and let's dive into this crazy journey together. It didn't start with some shady email or a random call. It started with a connection. Someone slid into my DMs, charismatic, funny, real. Or so I thought. They asked about my dreams, my fears, shared these wild, heartfelt stories about their life. Like, they'd tell me about their struggles, their big plans, and it felt like we were building something real. Looking back, the red flags are painfully clear. No video calls, always some excuse, a bad connection, a busy schedule. Their life was a constant drama, one urgent crisis after another. But back then, I trusted them. I mean, who wouldn't? They seemed to get me. We'd talk for hours, late into the night, about everything. Life, love, the future. They made me feel special, like I was part of their world. Then, after weeks of this, they mentioned this unmissable investment opportunity. Not pushy, just inviting. Like, I'm doing this for my future, Sammy, but you can join if you want. The website looked so legit. Fancy logos, slick graphs, testimonials from people who'd supposedly made millions. I started small, just dipping my toes in. And the returns? Instant. I saw money roll in, and I was hooked. I even withdrew some cash to test it, and it worked. That's how they get you. They make you believe it's real, like you're the one in control. Then came the big ask. A life-changing investment. They spun this emotional story, a sudden crisis, a deadline, our future on the line. They said, "This is it, Sammy, this is our shot." My gut screamed no, but my heart, it was all in. I ignored that little voice, that nagging doubt. I emptied my savings, took out a loan, scraped together every cent I had. I hit transfer and felt unstoppable, like I'd just secured my dreams. For a few hours, I was on cloud 9. Then the website went down for maintenance. Their messages slowed, then stopped. Their number disconnected. My bank account 0. I was staring at a blank 404 error, and this sickening truth hit me like a freight train. I'd been scammed. I sat there, refreshing the page, thinking it was a glitch. I sent message after message, begging for a reply. Nothing. I checked my bank account again, hoping I'd read it wrong. But no, it was gone. All of it. My life savings, the loan I'd taken out, every single dollar I'd worked so hard for. The worst part wasn't even the money, it was the shame. This voice in my head screaming, "How could you be so stupid, Sammy?" The days after, pure panic. I couldn't tell anyone. The shame was like a weight on my chest. Scammers count on that, you know? They isolate you, make you feel like you can't speak up. Every debt collector's call felt like a knife twisting in my gut. I'd wake up, and for 1 second, life was normal. Then it had hit me, I'd lost everything. I stopped answering my phone, stopped checking my mail. I was paralyzed, just replaying my mistake on a loop, drowning in it. My lowest point came about 2 weeks in. I was sitting in my car, staring at an eviction notice on my apartment door. I just broke down, sobbing, shaking, feeling like I was nothing. I'd lost my money, my security, my trust in people, even in myself. When you can't trust your own judgment, that's a different kind of pain. I remember looking in the rearview mirror, barely recognizing the person staring back. I thought, is this it? Is this where my story ends? But rock bottom. It's weirdly freeing. When you've got nothing left to lose, you've got everything to gain. Sitting in that car, I made a choice. The scammer took my money, but they weren't taking my future. I wasn't going to let them win. I picked up the phone and made one call to report the crime. It wasn't about getting the money back. It was about taking back control. That one small step. That's where my comeback began. This part's hard to share, and I know some of you watching might feel this deep in your bones. If you've ever been scammed, betrayed, or hit rock bottom, you know how isolating it feels. If this story's hitting home, drop a word of encouragement in the comments. For me, for yourself, for anyone who needs it right now. Let's build a community right here, a place where we lift each other up. And if you're finding value, smash that like button and share this video. It really helps spread this story. Rebuilding meant facing the mess head-on. I reported the scam to the police, the FTC, every agency I could find. I knew the money was gone, but it felt like fighting back, like I was doing something. Next, I locked everything down. New passwords, 2-factor authentication, a credit freeze. No more damage, no more surprises. Then came the hardest part, facing the wreckage. I sat down with a notebook and made a brutal list, every debt, every bill, every dollar I had left. Seeing it all written out was like a punch to the face. I owed thousands, and my income? Barely anything. I slashed my budget to the bone. Rent, utilities, food. That's it. No coffee runs, no new clothes, nothing extra. I sold my car, my furniture, even some old jewelry I'd held onto for years. Every sale hurt, but every dollar felt like a tiny victory. I took on 2 jobs, then 3, delivering food, freelancing online, even tutoring on weekends. I'd be up at 5 a.m., driving through the city, dropping off orders, then working late into the night on my laptop. There were days I'd collapse, exhausted, but I kept going. I remember one night, I made $20 on a delivery, and I just sat there, staring at the cash, feeling like I'd won the lottery. That's what it was like, celebrating the small wins, because they were all I had. I stopped staring at the mountain of debt and focused on the next step. Survive today. Then, tomorrow. I set tiny goals. Pay 1 bill, save $50, eat at home for a week. It wasn't glamorous, and it wasn't fast, but it was progress. 1 brick at a time, I was rebuilding my life. The money was tough, but the shame? That was way harder. For months, I blamed myself. I'd lie awake, replaying every moment, thinking, if only I'd listened to my gut. The real breakthrough came when I started forgiving myself. Scammers are pros. They're built to fool you. They study human nature, exploit your trust. You're not stupid, you're human. I had to repeat that like a mantra. Sammy, you were the victim of a crime. This wasn't your fault. The game changer was breaking the silence. I finally told my family, and I was terrified. I expected judgment, maybe an "I told you so." But instead, they hugged me. They listened. They reminded me I was more than my mistakes. That support was like a lifeline, pulling me out of the darkness. I also found online support groups, people who'd been through this exact pain. There was this one woman who shared how she lost her retirement savings to a scam. Hearing her story, and others, made me feel less broken. Like I wasn't crazy, wasn't alone. I started connecting with others, sharing my story bit by bit. I even posted about it anonymously on a forum, and the responses? Overwhelming. People shared their own stories, their own comebacks. That connection healed me. It reminded me my worth isn't a bank balance. It's my ability to keep going, to fight through the pain. Let's pause for a second. I want you to think about a time you felt stuck, like there was no way out. Maybe it wasn't a scam, maybe it was a betrayal, a loss, or just life knocking you down. Drop a comment below and tell me one thing you did to take a step forward. It could be small, like making a phone call or asking for help. Let's inspire each other right here. And if this story's resonating, hit that subscribe button to join the Sammy with Revenge community. So, where am I now? I'm not back to where I was. The debt's still there, and some days, it feels like a shadow following me. But I'm stable. I've got a roof over my head, food in the fridge, and most importantly, I'm not ashamed anymore. This experience, as brutal as it was, taught me something profound. My worth isn't money, it's resilience. It's the strength to get up after you've been crushed. It's the people who lift you when you can't lift yourself. I remember one moment, about a year into my rebuild. I was sitting in my tiny apartment, eating a $2 meal I'd cooked myself, and I realized I was okay. Not rich, not perfect, but okay. I paid a bill that week, saved a little, and for the first time in forever, I felt hope. That's what I want you to hold on to, hope. No matter how far you've fallen, you can climb back. If you're out there, suffering in silence, feeling stupid, you're not. You're not alone. You can rebuild. This is my story, but I'm sharing it for you. If it hit home, subscribe to Sammy with Revenge for more real stories like this. Drop a comment, share your story, your comeback, or just a word of support. Let's keep this conversation going. Thanks for listening. Want more stories like this? Check out my other videos, and don't forget to subscribe to Sammy with Revenge.